This is our second session of the Coach's Corner. So for those of you who attended the first session last month, welcome back. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, thanks for joining us. We're really glad that you're here. The goal of this Coach's Corner webinar series is really to provide an opportunity for our coaching community to come together once a month to discuss a variety of topics related to coaching. Our goal is really that you guys are able to leave these sessions with an opportunity to connect with one another and also with just some key takeaways that you guys can implement at your practices. So today's presentation will cover the topic of integrating fitness into practice. And today we are joined by a very special guest. We have our very own Jena Twete. Jena is our incredible fitness and wellness manager here at SoCo. Many of you know her, but for those of you who may not, she is extremely knowledgeable and very passionate about all things related to fitness. She's a huge advocate for our athletes and for their overall wellness, both on and off the playing field. So Jena will be here discussing integration of fitness into practice. She'll be doing a presentation for the next 30 minutes or so. And then the last 30 minutes will really be reserved for coach collaboration and discussion. So we'll have some smaller breakout groups set up between 6:05 and 6:20 with some discussion prompts and a chance for you guys to connect. And then we'll come back together as a larger group at the end for about 10 minutes to just wrap up everything and answer any lingering questions that you guys may have. If you do have questions during Jena's presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat box and we will try our best to respond to them before the end of tonight's session. And with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jena.
Thank you all for joining us first off. I'm just happy to have you guys here and just having your attentive ears allowing me to just share my love and passion for fitness with you all. And like Jenny said, please pop any questions into the chat. If they're super extensive ones, we can definitely connect after this. My email will be towards the end of the slideshow and you guys can email me and we can set up phone calls and chat more and stuff like that. Because when it comes to fitness, sometimes it's just better to have a sit down chat. And I know some of the coaches here understand that as well, because we've had long chats about how to incorporate fitness in different ways, working with different athletes, stuff like that. So to get into our training today, though, the goal of this really is to provide you guys with some simple and practical strategies for incorporating fitness into your practices. Because I know you guys are super busy, you have a lot going on, there's a lot going on during your practices. And so we don't want fitness to seem like something extra, but we want it to seem like it's part of your practice. And with doing that, you're going to enhance your athletes' sport performance, help prevent injuries. We don't want to look like the NFL right now, where every game someone is getting hurt, right? So we want to prevent injuries. And then increase overall health. So that's kind of the bonuses of incorporating fitness into your practices. So we're going to go over a couple topics today. We're going to go over why fitness. Why are we talking about this? We're going to talk about the dynamic warm-ups and cool-downs that Special Olympics has for you guys to use with your teams if you haven't seen them before. Strategies for running an active practice, and then just fitness resources that we have for you all, both us here at Colorado, but also just like what Special Olympics has in general for you guys. So, why fitness? Like, why are we taking time today to talk about this? It's super important because as you guys can see, 6.5 million people in the United States have an intellectual disability. And with that group of individuals, they're 2 times as likely to be obese, 2 to 4 times as likely to be less physically active, 5 times as likely to have diabetes. And then you guys can kind of see the other facts there. But with incorporating fitness into practices, getting our athletes more active even outside of practices, these numbers can decrease because we definitely don't want to see them increase. We want to see them go down. And just those few stats right there really drive home why fitness is so important and why being active is so important as well. So like I mentioned on that initial slide, the importance of fitness with preventing injuries and helping athletic performance. It's going to enhance that sports performance in a few ways. It's going to increase endurance and stamina. It's going to help better speed and agility. It's going to increase strength and power. Making sure that your athletes stretch afterwards is going to help improve flexibility. And then all of this stuff together is really going to help athletes get to a healthy weight. And especially the first four, those really are words that we can directly translate to sports performance. Endurance, being able to run up and down the court or the field for longer periods of time, speed and agility, all those different movements that we're making in our sporting activities, strength and power. Most sports, almost all sports have power in them. That's how you generate that movement to go forward on those bursts. And then flexibility. A lot of injuries can happen when there's not a lot of flexibility in an individual, because those hamstrings can easily pull, the quads can easily pull, all that stuff when they just don't have that ability to spring the way we want them to. And then healthy weight, that directly translates over into sports performance. It's maybe not something we always think of, but that healthy weight really helps enhance an athlete's ability. You're also going to notice as athletes get healthier, they're going to have increased energy levels. They're going to have energy to go all day. They're going to have improved focus within your practices. And then they're going to have better recovery time after practices and games. They're going to be ready to go for that next practice or that next activity that they're doing. We're going to have that reduced risk for sports-related injuries, like I talked about. Also, with being physically active, just doing more within your sports, outside your sports, stuff like that, it really helps decrease your risk for illness and chronic diseases. The healthier you are, the more ability your body has to fight off all those nasty things that are in our world. Not just coronavirus, but everything, the common cold, flu, all of that stuff. The healthier your body is on the inside, the better it can fight for you. And then overall, it's just going to make an improved quality of life for the individuals, athletes, you guys, everyone. So some different ways that you can integrate fitness into your practices. A really simple way to start it, if you aren't doing this already, is just including dynamic warm-ups at the beginning of practice and doing cool downs and stretching at the end of practice. That's one way to just slowly start to integrate it in, just adding that little bit before and after to get things going. Then, once you have that going, you can even dive more deeper into those active practices. And one way to really help you with this is engaging your fitness captains. So those of you on the call who have fitness captains on your team, they can help you with this. I see some familiar faces right now, and I know you guys use your fitness captains to deliver those warm-ups and cool downs. That gives you a second at the beginning of practice to just, get your mind right. What are we doing today? Get everything organized. Well, they're over there leading everyone through the warm-ups. It gives you a good 5 or so minutes to get organized and get everything ready. And if you have more experienced fitness captains on your team, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, they can help with your active practices as well, which is awesome. And then utilizing the Fit 5 program, which we'll mention a little bit later. And then also just creating fitness goals for your teams. Taking a moment to chat with your team, like, what do we want to achieve? What do we want to work for versus you necessarily telling them what to do every single practice. Like, we're doing this because I said so. Like, it's going to mean more to your athletes if it's like, remember our goal, like this is what we want to achieve as a team. This is going to help us get there. And I think as humans in general, we work better when we have some input in what we're trying to do, right? We don't work as well when someone's just constantly telling us what to do. We're like, come on now, like I want input in this. And so the same thing is for fitness. So diving into that first bullet point, why warm-ups and stretches? Doing a proper warm-up and cool down and stretching optimizes your practice sessions and reduces injury risk. How does it do that? The warm-up that you will be doing for your sports will help your athletes go through the movements that they're going to do in practice. And it's going to help warm up those muscles that they're going to be regularly using during the next hour that you guys are together. Okay. If you were to just, I don't know, wake up for a nap, hop in your car and go to practice and start practicing, there's a high chance you're going to hurt yourself. Your body's pretty tight. It's pretty quote unquote cold because your muscles were just in a sleeping position and weren't doing anything. So it's important to slowly go through these movements that you're going to do in practice. So something like high knees, butt kicks, lunges. If you're like, Jenna, I don't know what you're talking about, it's okay. I have pieces of paper and I have videos to help you guys with this. These movements are similar to the movements that they're going to be doing in their sport, depending on the sport that we're talking about. Those ones right there correlate a lot with soccer, basketball, football, things like that. With swimming, you know, you're having them do some arm circles and some arm movements to get themselves warmed up, because that's what they're going to be doing when they're in there. If you just have someone, say, for example, with swimming, jump in the water and just start swimming back and forth as fast as they can, it's very dangerous. There's a high risk of injury with that because their body isn't ready for it. And if you don't get injured, you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to hurt pretty good because your body was not ready to go through those movements. But if you give yourself 5, maybe 10 minutes, if you guys have that much time in your practice, to go through the movements a little slowly and work through that full range of motion that you're going to be putting your body through, your body is going to be a lot happier and it's going to be a lot more ready to go once you get into your sport, in your practice. Then the opposite, at the end of practice, say we're in basketball practice. We were just running up and down the court. We finished with a nice little scrimmage. Everyone's sweating and you're like, bye, see you guys later. They're going to hurt tomorrow. They're going to hurt. I mean, you might be sore regardless just from going to practice, but you need to make sure you're stretching and giving those muscles a chance to stretch back out. Because when you're going through your sport, everything is just firing really quick and everything's getting tight and short. And we want to lengthen everything back out once we're done. So it's important to get everything going, and then it's important to bring it back down as well. So warm-ups, like I described, are aerobic activities and they're dynamic movements. That means we're not holding anything for a long period of time. So we're not holding a quad stretch and stretching our quad. We're not going down to the ground and holding a hamstring stretch and counting to 10 or 15. Everything is active. It's constantly moving and we're never stopping. However, your cool downs and your stretching, that's when you're holding it. That's at the end of practice. But it's really easy to get those two confused because for years and years and years and years, people held what we call static stretches at the start of practices. But we know now through research and everything that we need to be actively moving through the movements. All right. So to help you guys with that, we have made sport-specific dynamic warm-ups for every single one of our sports. Yes, every single one. If that's a little bit too much for you, we also just have a general one that you see here on your guys' screen. We also just have a basic one that'll work for a majority of the sports. I'm not going to say all, a majority, because some of these will be hard, like our winter sports where you're in your boots and everything. A lot of these movements would be pretty challenging once you're all geared up. But for a lot of sports, this warm-up would work. I do know that a lot of you submitted questions about adaptations for physical limitations. Mentioned like some athletes in wheelchairs or who just have physical movement limitations in general. For those athletes, we do have some warm-ups programmed that adjust for physical limitations. However, To best address that, I would love if you guys could just email me and we could chat it out. Because physical limitations is such a wide range. I could take the time and program something, and then you might come back and be like, they can't do any of that. So if we talk through it and talk through some options, we're going to be a lot more successful. An example I have of that is a coach reached out to me and they said they needed some options for a swimming warm-up. And I was like, okay. And so I just gave them some options compared to the original swimming warm-up. And they're like, oh, well, they're in a wheelchair and they can't move at all. And I'm like, oh, that would have been good to know with my programming, because that totally changes how I'm going to program for your athletes. So then we started having a back and forth conversation, and I learned more about that athlete and what that athlete can and cannot do, and if they have someone at practice to help them with movements or if they don't. And then once we talked that through, the coach and I came up with a really great warm-up that was specific for that athlete and what they are able to do and not able to do. And so it was way more successful versus me just like throwing out a bunch of random things. And then you're like, these don't work either. So for all of you guys that submitted that question, make sure you write down my email at the end of this PowerPoint so we can chit chat about that. And that way we can give your athletes that have the physical limitations the best possible warm up for them. Okay. So I just want to make sure you guys know that I did see that and that I do know that. And I am aware, but it is hard to program. So this is just an example of what a warm-up looks like. And this is an example of what stretching looks like. So I'm going to point out a couple things for you guys. So when you either ask for these sheets or you see your fitness captains with these sheets, you know the difference between them. So one thing that was probably really noticeable was the different colored backgrounds on the pieces of paper. Our general warm-ups and stretches just have white backgrounds, so they're very simple. And then from there, we color coordinated each season. I would love to say I know what they all are off the top of my head, but I can't remember. But I remember there's purple, blue, orange, and yellow, I think is what it is. And I feel like orange and yellow, one's summer and one's spring. And I feel like blue is winter. And I think I may have gotten them right, but I'm not sure. But they are color coordinated for the season. And that helps to, for the athletes when they have like a stack of them for our fitness captains and they're like, which warm-ups what? Because as you guys can see, like it's very small on the piece of paper. So this way they can use the colors to help distinguish as well. You also notice that this one has a red box and this one has a green box. Green means go. It means it should be used at the start of practice. Red means stop. So it should be used at the end of practice. So I put those boxes on all the warm-ups as well to help indicate the difference between this one's at the beginning and this one's at the end. Because if you look at this piece of paper and this piece of paper, they look extremely similar. So we added that color as well. And then I also have put this before practice competition, after practice competition on them as well. But once again, that font is pretty tiny on the pieces of paper. So I use more of colors to kind of show the difference. Now we have these pieces of paper that lay everything out. And we also have videos for every single one of our warm-ups and our stretches. So if you're not as familiar with fitness or fitness movements, it's totally okay. We have videos that go along with everything on our YouTube channel, and later I'll show you guys how you can access those. Okay. So if you guys haven't seen this, we have this awesome video that talks about what the role of a fitness captain is, what a fitness captain is. And I'm not going to take too much time because I think it's like a decently long video, but I'm just going to show you guys a little snippet of what a fitness captain looks like at a practice in case you don't have a fitness captain on your team. And you guys can also read the definition down here as it's going.
So we're just gonna, slowly. Me and Luke are you guys' fitness captains. So what that means is every warm-up before volleyball, we are going to lead you guys in some stretching. because it's always important to stretch before doing a.
I'm a fitness coach for my bocce ball team. We just started it this season, though, so I'm the first one to do it. Talk about beta testing.
Awesome. Well, when you guys have 5 minutes of time, I totally encourage you to go to our website or our YouTube channel and just watch that video. It really helps explain a lot about the fitness captains, and you guys get to hang out with Andrew, and he's hilarious, and he always has funny things to say, like what he just said. So if you have time, go check that out. But hopefully you also had a second to read the description to figure out what a fitness captain is. They're just an athlete on your team that is chosen by you guys. You guys nominate them because you saw that they had the ability to lead if they were given the proper tools and resources, which they are given by me. They go through training. So if you have an athlete on your team that you think would be a great fitness captain, write down my email and email me, because you can never have enough fitness captains. If you already have a fitness captain on your team, you can have more than one. Diane's nodding her head because she has like 18. No, it's not that many, but she has a lot. 5. She has 5 fitness captains on her team. And we work with the fitness captains too, and we teach them how you work together when there's more than one of you on a team. Because at first it's like, how do we do this? Because the initial training is just like you leading. But then we go through to like, how does this work when there's more than one of us? So if you guys have athletes on your team that you think would be great leaders and love this fitness captain role, please email me, include this information right here, name, contact information, team, why you're nominating them, and we'll get them trained. Also, make sure you tell your athlete that you're nominating them as well, so it's not a surprise when I shoot them an email and they're like, what? And I'm planning to do trainings this fall if we get a bunch of nominations. So hopefully you guys have some people to nominate. Okay, so diving into fitness, how do we incorporate it into our practices? Because I know you guys have a lot on your plate, like I already said, and your practice time is limited, especially now, like with getting space at a pool or on a court and stuff like that. Like I totally get it. And there's a lot of rules and regulations right now as well. But there's still ways we can make it work and we can figure it out. And so I want to go through just a few maybe minor adjustments that you guys can make to your practices to help maximize physical activity during them, and just incorporating a little bit of fitness here and there. So your keys to fitness integration in your practices. You want it to be creative. You want it to be intentional. You want to have planning behind it. Don't just like start throwing out stuff. You want there to be interest from the athletes, and then that goals piece as well that we talked about before. You know, does your team have a goal for their season or whatever? And then how can we relate that back to fitness? So these are all really important things to keep in mind when you're starting to integrate this. And then along with motivation, I believe there was a question about like, how do I get the athletes motivated to do this? Which is a very valid question. It's a very valid question in the world of fitness. Motivation, it's the thing we fight all the time. And so ways to help combat that is one, if you're making it a part of your practice and you set that goal, hopefully that can help with the motivation a little bit, but also making sure what you're doing is creative, that the athletes have interest in it. So the first day that you incorporate fitness into practice, I wouldn't start throwing like burpees at them or stuff like that. Put something in there that's a little more exciting and interesting. I mean, you can if you want, but you're probably going to get a lot of pushback. So make sure they're interested in it. Make sure it's engaging of some sort. Make sure there's choices. So say you're just setting up a simple circuit and you just put like cones or poly spots, or you say this spot right here and you put a piece of tape there or whatever. Maybe you can have jumping jacks and squats and tell them to choose which one they want. So right there, you want them to do fitness, but you've given your athletes a choice on which one they can do for the day. So Joe might be like, it's a squat kind of day. And then Susie might be like, I want to do jumping jacks and get out a bunch of energy and go crazy. And that way they had a choice and they were able to do what they wanted to do for that station. And you can have all the stations set up that way. It's kind of like the basic principle of, walking across the street and someone doesn't want to hold your hand and you just give them the choice of right or left. They're still going to hold your hand, right? At the end of the day in order to cross the street, but at least you gave them a choice on which one they wanted to hold. Same thing works for fitness as well. Just give 2 options and then people may be more likely to be excited to participate because they're now in control of their fitness and their destiny with it. And then make it a part of practice. Don't make it a separate piece. So don't tack it on to the end of practice or make it the first thing you do, right after your dynamic warm up. Try and integrate it within there at some point. So I'll give an example a little bit later of a way to do that, but don't kind of piece it out because then it seems like it's a chore as well. It's now it's the 10-minute fitness time at the end of practice. Whereas if you put it in practice, sprinkled in there, it's not as obvious and it's easier to get people to commit. Okay. So tips for running active practice. You want to keep your practice active all the time. There really shouldn't be too much standing around if you can avoid it. Yes, have water breaks, stuff like that, but try and keep practice moving as much as possible. For basketball, you shouldn't just have everyone standing in a line doing layups if you have the full court. You can have multiple layup lines going so people are moving more often versus having all, say, 15 of your athletes just waiting in line for their turn to go do a layup, right? You can split that up and you can make it a little bit more active. That's just a simple example. Making sure you create those routines for the warm up and cool down. Initially, if you haven't done them before, you might have a little pushback. Athletes might be confused, why aren't we doing it the same way we've done for the past how many years? But eventually it is going to become part of the routine and it's going to become familiar. And guess what? We have already done this for you. So you don't have to put in any work for that one. We got it taken care of. You just have to make sure it happens. Another way is to use those circuits, kind of like what I was just talking about. They have the choices at each station. So that's going to keep the practice active. You can have maybe one half of the team running some sports specific drills. The other half is doing your little circuit and then they switch. And it's just going to keep them going. So that way you don't have everyone running the same drill and then they're waiting in line. And guess what? I already have examples for you guys. So you don't have to program that either. Just ask me and I'll give them to you guys. And there you go. And then you can also do things like organizing small games. So you can do little half court scrimmages or trying to think of another example off the top of my head, mini soccer games around the field, stuff like that. So, they're in a smaller group, they're in a smaller space, but they're still moving around a lot more than, all right, we're going to do a full court scrimmage and half the team is sitting on the bench while half the team is playing. You can split that up and you can have everyone play and be active a little bit more. And if you do have to run it that way, say you are going to have some athletes on the sideline, find a way for them to do physical activity while they're waiting. Maybe rounding up the balls that are around the field. So that way, when practice is over, the balls are already picked up, something like that. Okay. So with fitness and all of this stuff, you really don't need a lot of equipment to do it. A lot of times when we think of fitness, we think of gyms and weights, and we need all this stuff and we need cones and little spots on the ground and stuff like that. You don't necessarily need that. You can use pieces of painter's tape and put it down on the court if you're doing a court sport. If you're outside in the grass and say you have pennies for your team or you have old t-shirts at home, you can throw those down on the ground to mark spots. And then you can use the Fit 5 fitness cards as a really simple way to incorporate exercises. If you guys don't know what they are, they're these fitness cards that are on a ring and they come off really easily. And you can place them around the field and around the court, which is nice. You guys can use those time circuits and stations to help you out. Make sure you have those choices, like I said. You really want to make sure you avoid elimination games because then now you just made an active person inactive. And also that just doesn't feel good. So yeah, and then, you know, if there are transitions, they can walk briskly and jog. And so my example that I've had, and I kind of mentioned it a little bit, is you can have half your team doing your sport specific drills, and then the other half can be doing some fun fitness drills. So say half your team is doing a shooting drill, you can have the other half with some markers that you've put on the ground, whether that's tape, old t-shirts, if you have cones, awesome. And you have those fitness cards laying down. And so you have, say, jumping jacks and squats at one station and push-ups and high knees at another. And then you guys can think of your other couple stations. So then they're just going around that station and they're working that. And then say you run each one for 5 minutes. At 5 minutes, they switch. And now half the team's doing your sport specific drill and the other half is back doing your circuit. So that's one way to easily incorporate it. And you haven't had to make it a separate part of your practice. You didn't have to add any extra time because they're still doing the same thing. And you're still accomplishing the same thing you wanted to in practice, which is having them do sports drills and then now having them be a little bit more physically active. Also, you guys need to be the champions of fitness. If you're like, jumping jacks are horrible, no one's gonna want to do them, right? No one. If you're walking into practice chugging down a Mountain Dew, your athletes are gonna walk into practice chugging down a Mountain Dew instead of drinking water, right? So you also want to be the champions and you want to show the positive behaviors and stuff like that. Yeah, that was just my little tidbit. Then also just encouraging healthy habits at home. So on your non-practice days, encouraging athletes to be physically active. You can check in with them at practice. Like, what did you guys do outside of practice? Make it a really encouraging thing. And then also you can talk about, you know, drinking water and eating healthy foods. This is all in the Fit 5 guide that exists. If you guys want them, just ask for them. I have a million of them to pass out. And you can provide tip sheets, and we have the resources for you to provide those to your athletes as well. Tips on eating healthy and healthy lifestyles and behaviors. We also have our virtual challenges going on right now, which is a great way for your athletes to be active at home as well. Yeah, the Fit 5 booklet I'm talking about. If you're like, what is she talking about? This is what it looks like. If you want to know more, reach out to me. You're also going to get these slides, and there's a link to the resources for Fit 5 as well. But yeah, we're ready for our breakout rooms.
Perfect. Thank you, Jenna. Thanks, everybody. We're going to break out into 2 smaller groups here to address some of these discussion prompts. Feel free to just share ideas with one another about what has worked for you at your practices. That's really what this is for. Just giving you guys a chance to connect. So I'm going to go ahead and start the breakout rooms. You guys will be in them for about 15 minutes, and then we'll rejoin as a larger group here.
Hey, can I go ahead and start? I just wanted to add something to what we were just talking about in our small group. Chaka had asked a question about how to deal with athletes seeming envious or maybe jealous of their other teammates who may have been selected as a fitness captain. And from the sound of it, you know, you can have as many fitness captains on your team as you want, correct?
Correct.
So So Chaka, my advice to you in that situation is set a standard for what you want your fitness captains to look like. What does leadership look like to you as a coach? And break it down based on that, and say, you know, these are my standards and these are my expectations for my fitness leaders. And anybody's willing, or anybody is able to become one, but you do have to achieve this benchmark or achieve this standard that I've set in place, because then you will have shown me that you're dedicated to this team, that you're dedicated to this concept of being a fitness captain and a leader within your team. You know, that way it's something that they've worked for and something that they can feel a sense of accomplishment with, rather than just, well, we have 12 fitness captains because everybody wanted to be a fitness captain. You know, so if that's a way to kind of, it places a little bit of pride and a little bit of honor on it for your athletes because they know it's something that they've worked for, you know. Or you can do it in a team nomination kind of a way where, you know, the team thinks that this one individual athlete would be the best choice to be their fitness captain, or these two athletes would be the best choice to be their fitness captain.
Thanks, Megan.
I think what makes a really helpful program is just having strong captains. And I think that is what I was hearing, that having strong captains on a team really, really makes this fitness integration work. So we can work towards that on all of our teams.
Yeah, we had similar conversations in our group too. Just, you know, that peer-to-peer interaction, you know, seeing your peers do it, seeing the fitness captains lead it. I think Janet said it's better to see the younger people doing it and stuff as well. So yeah, having that, you know, role model, peer encouragement, that kind of stuff.
Have any of you guys had any success with the virtual wellness challenges as a team? Any participation?
Some of the things that came up for us was just athlete access. A lot of athletes also are doing a lot of things from their phones, which is, you know, a small screen and stuff like that. You know, just really kind of confronting the concern from athletes like, hey, I really want to be in person. So a lot of the stuff we've already talked about, but those are some of the things that have come up with regards to the challenges.
And Janet put in the chat, my daughter got a real kick out of doing the walks with everyone and hearing her friends present during them. So that's great.
All right, so I'll just share my screen quick back again with you guys. So you can see where to access a lot of this fitness stuff. And you can learn more about our wellness challenges, our virtual wellness challenges as well. If you're wondering how to incorporate those into your practices, let's chat about it. And see what some ideas would work. But if you're on our main page, you can go to our SoCo at home page, which you're going to find a million wonderful opportunities. It's not a million, but we have things happening every single day of the week. That's just a little SoCo at home plug. But when it comes to our virtual training, we have a page for it for you guys. And we have a lot of great resources. We have this virtual workout calendar that will help keep your athletes active outside of practice. We have workout videos for all of our sports seasons so far. This is where you can find those warm-ups and stretches, the videos on YouTube. And then you can also find a PDF of all of these workouts. And then we also have these awesome links for you guys that have drills that you can use for your practices. So if you're like, I'm not sure what to do for practice today, this is a great page to go to. Or if you're a new coach to a sport and you're not 100% sure what to do for that sport, maybe you've never played it before or never been involved with it, this is a great resource for you guys. And then we have all these additional training drills for you guys as well. These are these tips that I was talking about. They're also housed on this page. When it comes to those warm-up images that you guys saw that are the pieces of paper, those are not located on this page, but you can get them from me by just reaching out. But I wanted to make sure you guys were aware that this existed or exists on our website. It's a great tool. And then if you want to learn more about the Fitness Captain program, you can find that under the programs tab. And then you'll just want to, where is my tab? There it is. Go to Fitness and Wellness and then learn more. And then this is where you can watch that awesome Fitness Captain video I was talking about and learn more about the Fitness Captain program. That's all I had.
Thank you so much, Jenna. And thanks everybody for taking part in today's Coach's Corner. So we'll let everybody get off and eat some dinner. We hope that you'll join us for future sessions. We'll have them monthly, so keep an eye out for the next email invitation. Thanks guys, take care.